$14,056.
That is a brutally specific number.
It is, and honestly, it's a number that should keep any business owner or, any IT director,
Ah.
frankly, anyone with a job that relies on a computer awake at night.
Right.
According to the State of Backup and Recovery Report 2025, that is the average cost of unplanned downtime.
Wait, per hour?
No, per minute.
Wow, per minute.
Exactly. $14,056 draining out of the bank account every 60 seconds your systems are down. I mean, you leave the office for a coffee, you come back 10 minutes later,
Yeah.
and if the server is down, you've effectively burned the price of a luxury car.
That really puts the stakes in perspective. If you're down for an hour, you're flirting with $1 million loss. And that's just the immediate financial bleed. That doesn't even account for, the reputation damage, the lost customers, the sheer panic in the IT department.
Right. And that is why today we are doing a deep dive into a topic that, well, usually gets ignored until the building is figuratively on fire.
Business continuity and disaster recovery. BCDR.
Exactly. It's the unsexy plumbing of the corporate world.
But as that number shows, it's arguably the most critical.
Well, we have a really interesting stack of sources today. We're looking at that State of Backup and Recovery report, which paints a pretty grim picture of where we are.
It doesn't.
And we're going to contrast that with some documentation from a company called Swimage that claims they've completely flipped the script on recovery.
Flip the script is putting it mildly. I mean, they're making some claims about rebuilding crashed systems in minutes, completely offline, that, frankly, I had to read twice to believe.
We will definitely get to the skepticism on that because I have questions. But first, let's unpack the landscape. Because if downtime costs $14,000 a minute, surely businesses have this solved by now.
You think so?
We have the cloud, we have redundancy. We should be fine.
You would think. But the data says the exact opposite.
Okay.
If we look at the report, the first thing that jumps out is just the sheer prevalence of the problem. 9 out of 10 organizations experienced operational downtime in the last 12 months.
So, everyone, that's not an outlier. That's just the standard now.
It is. It's no longer a question of if, it's when. But here's where it gets really interesting and where we see what they're calling the backup paradox.
The backup paradox. What is that, like having a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear?
It's close. It's like having a closet full of expensive fire extinguishers. But when the fire starts, none of them work.
Oh, no.
We have more tools than ever. Companies are spending record amounts on cloud backups, local backups, all these hybrid solutions. And yet, confidence is dropping.
Really?
Yeah. Only 40% of IT teams feel confident in their current backup systems. About 30% are actively worried their strategy is totally inadequate.
So we're spending more money to feel less safe. Why? Is the tech failing us, or are we just using it wrong?
It's a mix of complexity and, well, lethargy. The report shows this massive gap between expectation and reality. 60% of businesses think they can recover in a day.
Okay, that's reasonable.
But when reality hits, only 35% actually manage to do it.
That is a huge disconnect. That's nearly half of all businesses basically lying to themselves.
Because they aren't testing. That's the dirty little secret of IT. Only 15% of businesses conduct daily backup tests.
Only 15.
The rest are just crossing their fingers and hoping that little green light on the dashboard actually means something. And you have to understand, testing isn't just, did the file save?
Can we bring the whole business back online from scratch?
Exactly. And IT teams are just overwhelmed. They're spending 10+ hours a week just managing the backups. They don't have time to run fire drills.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here. I'm a modern business. I put everything in the cloud. I'm on Microsoft Azure. I don't need to test backups because, Microsoft is too big to fail. My laptop breaks. I grab a new one. I log in. Isn't the cloud the ultimate safety net?
That is the single most dangerous assumption in modern tech.
Really?
Absolutely. The report highlights this specifically. Over 50% of workloads are in the cloud now, heading to 61%.
Yeah.
But protection isn't automatic. It's called the shared responsibility model.
Okay.
Microsoft guarantees the infrastructure won't collapse. They guarantee their servers will turn on. They do not guarantee your data won't get corrupted or deleted or, infected.
So if I get a virus that encrypts my files on OneDrive, Microsoft just says, sorry, your server is running fine. Your files just happen to be unreadable.
That's it. And the stats back this up. Among businesses using Azure, almost 90% use the native tools, but over 60% lack true disaster recovery capabilities. They're confusing high availability with disaster recovery.
So we're flying without a parachute and just assuming the plane won't crash. And meanwhile, the things trying to crash the plane are getting smarter.
That's the other side of the coin. The threat landscape has totally changed. It's not just about a hard drive failing anymore. It's malicious. Ransomware has evolved.
Right, we hear about ransomware all the time. You get the scary red screen, you pay the Bitcoin, you get your files back.
It used to be that simple. Attackers would encrypt your main files, you'd laugh, wipe the machine, restore from your backup, and move on. But the attackers figured that out. Now, 94% of ransomware victims have their backups specifically targeted.
They cut the safety net first.
They hunt for the backups.
Yeah.
They encrypt the restore points. Then they lock your machine. And if your backup is also encrypted, you have no choice. You have to pay.
That is terrifying. Okay, so to recap the problem, downtime costs a fortune, everyone gets hit, the cloud isn't a magic fix, and the bad guys are destroying our backups.
That is a bleak but very accurate summary of why 9 out of 10 businesses are struggling.
All right, let's pivot. We've established the house is on fire. Let's talk about the fire hose. We're looking at this company, Swimmage. Now, I read through their documents, and I have to admit, my skeptical alarm bells went off.
Yeah, why is that?
Because they are making some very bold claims. They're saying they can take a machine that has completely crashed, I'm talking blue screen, virus, total meltdown, and rebuild it in under 30 minutes, sometimes under 15.
And it's zero touch, right?
And zero touch. It sounds like marketing fluff. Usually if my computer dies, IT has to get it, they wipe it clean, reinstall Windows, and I get back a blank slate. I lose everything. It takes days.
Yeah.
How is Swimmage possibly doing this in 15 minutes remotely?
Well, let's peel back the marketing and look at the mechanics. They call the process rapid recovery, but the real innovation is something they call the localized recovery space.
Break that down. Is that just a fancy name for a backup partition? Because we've had those for 20 years.
It's similar in concept, but the execution is totally different. A traditional recovery partition just resets you to factory settings.
Right, with all the bloatware.
Exactly. Or in a corporate setting, you have to connect to the network, download a massive 10-gigabyte OS image, and install it. That takes hours and kills your bandwidth.
The old imaging over the wire nightmare. Yeah.
Swimmage basically changes the location of the supply closet. It keeps a known good source of the operating system and all the core apps on the device's hard drive itself in a protected lockdown partition.
So the repair kit is already inside the box.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this leads to their biggest differentiator, and the one you were skeptical about, the offline factor.
Okay.
Because the recovery data is local, Swimmage works completely offline.
Okay, hold on. I want to push on this. Offline. Let's say I'm a sales exec on a plane over the Atlantic. No Wi-Fi. My laptop gets a corrupted update and blue screens. It's a brick. Are you telling me software can fix that?
According to their technical docs, yes.
But how? If the OS is dead, how do I run the software to fix the OS?
Because Swimmage sits outside the main OS. You can trigger the rebuild or reconstitution, as they call it, from the boot menu. It doesn't need to reach a server to get the files.
Because they're already there.
It essentially wakes up the mechanic sleeping in the trunk.
That is actually useful, especially for remote workers. If I'm in a cabin in the woods, I don't need to drive to the nearest city to get Wi-Fi to fix my laptop.
Precisely. And think about the ransomware scenario we just discussed. What's the first thing you do when you suspect a virus?
Unplug the internet cable, you go dark so it doesn't spread.
Right. But in the old model, unplugging the internet meant you also cut off your lifeline to IT. You couldn't get the fix. Swimmage solves that. You can disconnect the machine, isolating the threat, and still trigger a full rebuild.
Okay, but let's talk user experience. You mentioned reconstitution instead of reimaging. That sounds like a semantic game. What's the difference for the person in the chair?
It's the difference between moving into a new house versus renovating the one you're in while keeping all your furniture.
Go on.
So a traditional reimage, it wipes everything. Data, settings, apps gone. Swimmage uses a feature called the Data Protect Snapshot. When the recovery starts, it takes a snapshot of all your settings, your data, your app states, and it moves them to a safe holding area on the drive. Then, it wipes the operating system underneath, it completely destroys the corrupted Windows install, nukes the registry, the boot sector, everything.
A clean slate.
A totally clean slate. Then it lays down a fresh OS from that protected source we talked about. And then it layers your data and settings right back on top.
So it's like slipping a new tablecloth under a fully set dinner table without knocking over the wine glasses.
That is a fantastic analogy.
Yes.
To the user, it just feels like the computer restarted and woke up fresh. Their files are there, their background is there, but the underlying engine is completely new.
I have to be the skeptic again here. Ransomware. If I have a virus and Swimage keeps my data, aren't I just keeping the virus too? If the virus is in my documents folder, haven't we achieved nothing?
This is a critical distinction, and we need to be very precise. You are right. If the ransomware has encrypted your actual Excel spreadsheets, Swimage cannot magically decrypt those files. You would still need a separate offline file backup for those.
Okay, so it's not a magic wand for encrypted data.
No. But, and this is a big bottom-boost, but most ransomware attacks start by compromising the operating system. They infect the registry, they install backdoors, they break the boot process so you can't even get to your files. Swimage handles that part.
Give you a working computer back.
Exactly. It removes the threat at the root by overwriting the infected system files with clean ones. It gives you a sanitized safe house. Then you can bring your furniture back in.
I see. So it clears the battlefield so you can actually start treating the wounded.
Correct. And Ed does something else during this process that's really smart on the security side. They talk about zero trust architecture.
Buzzword alert. What does zero trust actually mean here?
It means the system doesn't trust the machine just because it was working yesterday. It enforces compliance rules during the rebuild. Before that machine is allowed back on the company network, Swimage checks. Is the firewall on? Is the antivirus updated? Is the disk encrypted?
So it's not just fixing it, it's policing it.
It's standardizing it. If a machine was broken because a user turned off the firewall, Swimage turns it back on during the rebuild. It creates a self-healing ecosystem.
Speaking of encryption, I saw a mention of an encryption converter. That sounded incredibly dry, but the text made it seem like a big deal. Why?
Oh, it is a huge deal if you work in IT. Encryption is a nightmare during upgrades. Say your company buys another company that uses a different encryption standard. To switch them, you usually have to decrypt the whole drive, which takes hours, and leaves data vulnerable, and then re-encrypt it.
Sounds like a compliance audit waiting to happen.
It is. Swimage claims to migrate encryption types without moving data off the PC, keeping it secure the whole time. It turns a multi-day security risk into a background task.
And there was another tool with a great name. The Driver Interrogator.
Yes.
I just picture a tiny detective inside the CPU, shining a lamp in the motherboard's face, yelling, "Where are the files?"
In a way, it is. Look, drivers are the reason most manual re-imaging fails. You reinstall Windows, but the sound doesn't work, or the Wi-Fi drops out because you have the wrong driver.
Or you just get the blue screen of death immediately.
Exactly. The driver interrogator scans the hardware, identifies exactly what components are there, and injects the correct drivers during the rebuild. It makes sure that when the system comes back up, it actually works.
So, okay, we've got offline recovery, data preservation, security enforcement, driver handling. Let's talk business case. We started with that $14,000 a minute cost. Swimage says their pricing starts around $4 per seat.
The ROI calculation is pretty straightforward. If you have 1,000 employees and Swimage prevents one major outage that would have lasted just 4 hours, it has paid for itself 10 times over.
But it's not just about the money, is it? There's that grim statistic. 40 to 60% of businesses never reopen after a major disaster.
That's the survival part. It's not about losing quarterly profit, it's about ceasing to exist. Swimage claims to slash downtime by over 80%.
Yeah.
That velocity of recovery is a huge competitive advantage.
And I imagine the remote work aspect is the real killer app here. The report mentioned hybrid work is the new standard. You can't rely on shipping laptops back to headquarters anymore.
It's too slow. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
If you have an employee in Tokyo and your HQ is in New York, shipping a laptop for repair is a week of lost productivity minimum.
Right.
This lets you manage that endpoint as if it were sitting on the desk next to you.
There's a testimonial here from a federal government agency CTO. They replaced nearly 5,000 PCs in 3 months using this. And a nonprofit IT director said they deployed 60 computers in 2 hours with one person.
One person. That's the key. It frees up the IT team. Remember how we said they're spending 10+ hours a week just managing backups?
Right. Firefighting.
If you automate the recovery, those people can actually do their jobs. They can work on strategic projects instead of just fighting fires.
So let's zoom out. What does this all mean for the listener? We're seeing a fundamental shift in philosophy here, aren't we?
We are. We're moving from backup, which is just making a copy and hoping for the best, to resilience.
Define the difference for me.
Backup is a snapshot of the past. Resilience is the ability to handle the future. It's the ability to take a punch, whether it's a bad update or a hacker, and bounce back instantly.
And that state of backup report makes it very clear. The current methods are failing. The backup paradox proves that just buying more storage isn't the answer.
The answer is automation and autonomy. Tools like Swimage that take human error and human delay out of the equation. It's about self-healing systems.
The future of IT isn't preventing every single glitch.
That's impossible.
It's about how fast you can recover when the glitch inevitably happens.
And that brings us back to that offline capability. It's autonomy for the endpoint. It acknowledges that the network might fail, the cloud might fail, but the device needs to survive.
So, here's a thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We spend millions on firewalls and antivirus to prevent the disaster. We build these higher and higher walls. But if the statistics are true, and 9 out of 10 businesses are going to crash anyway, maybe we're measuring the wrong thing.
That raises the most important question of all.
Maybe the metric shouldn't be prevention rate. Maybe it should be velocity of recovery. If your computer screen went black right now, blue screen, ransomware, the works, would you be back in business in 15 minutes? Or would you be scrambling for days, becoming part of that 40% statistic that never opens their doors again?
It's a question every leader needs to ask. Speed is the new security.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.